Hey everybody, it's Maggie from This or That, and today the focus is saving money. I'm gonna walk you through 4 apps that are gonna help you do just that. And I know that I recently did a video all about all of the apps that are on my iPhone, and I can link that for you in the description box below if you just want a rundown of every app that I use. I really try to keep apps that are gonna help me make my everyday life more efficient, more productive, just like helpful rather than just useless and taking up space on my phone. I've found 4 apps through the help of my friends and through the help of online articles that have really played a big part in helping me save money. Some of these are newer to me, but I wanted to go ahead and outline them because you know I research absolutely everything I use, and so I do know a lot about the apps. So I wanted to share with you what I know about these 4 apps that have helped me. So I think that the 4 most important things to keep in mind when you're trying to save money are budgeting, spending, saving, and tracking it all. And I know that a lot of these apps that I'm going to mention sort of do multiple things, but I like to use these 4 different apps for 4 different purposes. You could just use one or the other, but I think if you have different goals and different, I don't know, I just think that all of these apps have their strengths. So the first app I want to talk about is for budgeting, and the app that I use for that is called Mint. This is your very classic budgeting app, and it's very simple. You link your credit card accounts and you link your bank accounts, and for a while I didn't set up any budgets for myself because one cool feature about this app is that it will actually suggest budgets for you. So after about a month of spending, it sees where you spend your money and it says, okay, it looks like in the month of May you spent $100 on food, $1,000 on rent, $300 on miscellaneous items or shopping. And so it will sort of suggest budgets for you. But if you want to get a little bit more detailed, you can also go in and set budgets for every little thing. Moral of the story is you curate it based on your spending habits, which I really like. So each budget is displayed to you in sort of a linear form. So if you say that you're going to spend $300 on groceries for the month, you'll have a line and it has $0 on one end and $300 on the other end. And as you spend, it lumps things into that category. Now, you have to pay attention to where it's lumping your charges. Let's say I went to a gas station and I had to pick up some deodorant because I left deodorant at home or I forgot to put it on that day or something. It's gonna budget you something for gas stations because it's gonna lump that deodorant purchase into your gas budget because it came from the 7-Eleven or whatever. So you sort of have to go in and manually reallocate your charges sometimes based on where you bought things to get a true picture, because it's not so sophisticated that it knows what every store type is. Just a heads up for you there. So one other feature about Mint that's really annoying but also really helpful is that it tells you when you're about to reach your spending budget in a certain category. Maybe I'm really close to my $300 grocery budget, you'll get a notification, and then if you go over a budget, it's the worst. But it's helpful because they email you and they say, hey Maggie, you went over like $20 in your grocery budget, what happened? So it allows you to go in and reassess, and that's typically where I find the reallocation of the expenses pretty necessary. Because if I'm spending over $300 a month in groceries, I know something's off. So sometimes that's where like an Amazon charge got routed to groceries and I need to reallocate it. So you track every single budget linearly. You track every budget looking at that little line graph. But then you can also go to a pie graph view and you can see, okay, it looks like a majority of your money is going to shopping. Like, Maggie, whoa, slow it down. But another good way, and it might not be good for you if you're good at justifying things like I am, because if I come way under in my grocery budget, but I went over on my shopping budget, at the end of the day, I've reached the same amount of money that I was attempting to spend or save, right? It also allows you to know, okay, maybe this $300 grocery budget is too high. I should really be knocking that down to $150. So it also gives you a realistic picture of where you're spending your money. So again, Mint, just your classic budgeting app. You do link your credit cards and your bank accounts, and it tracks your spending in different categories. So this is a good starting place for you because it shows where your money is spent and how much you want to spend in each category per month. Now that we've talked about the budgets, let's move on to spending. For spending, I would suggest you download the app called Level. And with this app, it's very similar to Mint, but it's a little bit different because it gives you a more realistic picture because it's not based on budgets that you have in your head. It's really easy to set budgets without having a clear picture of what's actually in your bank account and what you can actually spend month to month. Because oftentimes you have extra charges, like maybe you're planning for a vacation, or maybe you just bought that one expensive thing that you'd been saving up for. Each month you have to adjust your spending based on your current situation. Mint does not necessarily take that into consideration because it's all budgets as if your life is normal from month to month to month. Level sort of tracks your spending, and it allows you to see what you can reasonably spend on a daily, monthly, and weekly basis. So what it does is it interfaces with your bank account and your credit cards, and it tells you like, okay, you have this much in your bank account, but then it subtracts the necessities. You know, my rent charge is this per month, my utility charge is this per month. So that's your non-negotiable spending that you have to do every month, regardless of the situation. So after that, it tells you, okay, based on this balance in your bank account, after subtracting the essentials, and based on the money you want to save, this is realistically how much you actually have available to spend daily, monthly, and weekly. So this is really helpful to give you a realistic picture about what you actually have to spend. Setting this app up is incredibly easy. You just link your bank account again and your credit card, and it sort of does all of the work for you. It also will tell you that you have a lot more to spend if you have unexpected income coming in. So let's say you get a bonus. It's gonna really up your daily, monthly, and weekly spending level amounts. And you might not wanna do that. Maybe you wanna save that whole $1,000. In order to make it actually applicable to how you want it to work, you do have to take control and actually move things around. What I say when you have to take things into your own hand with Level is it allows you to go in and flag income as normal income, income, and don't use. So you would flag things as don't use in the calculation if, let's say, you got that $1,000 bonus and you want that to go straight into your savings. You'd flag things as normal income as like your paycheck or something. But let's say you don't want to save all the birthday money that you got from your grandmother, you would just mark that as income. So you do want that to be factored in, but it's not your normal income. But in general, Level is a good way to track your spending. So the next app I think is actually the coolest app that I'm going to suggest to you today. So if you get one, I would go with Capital with a Q. This is your ultimate savings app, and I love this app. All the credit goes to my friend Mary Kat, who told me about this. She was talking about all the really unique ways that it gives you to save money. It makes you very creative with how you have to save, and it also makes saving not painful and barely noticeable, which is why I think that this app is sort of like a little bit above the others that I'm going to mention today. This garbage truck has come in like 5 times. So after you set up an account with Capital, it goes in and it asks you how you want to save your money. And all of the options that they give you are really cool. So I wrote all of them down, so I'm going to read them to you now. So it asks you to start a savings plan, and it was like, how do you want to do that? And you scroll through and it gives you different options. Do you want to save to do something, go somewhere, to get something, to pay off debts, to just save, or something else? So then you go in and you choose your rule. And the app has all of these preset rules as ways that you can save. So you don't even have to think about how you're gonna save. You just choose one of their preset rules, and they are awesome. They're so creative. So you have one, which is their most popular rule, which is called the Roundup Rule. So with the Roundup Rule, every single time you make a credit card transaction, or if you pay with your debit card, it will round up your purchase to the nearest dollar, and that amount will go into your Capital savings account. You have your own bank account through Capital, but it's not a separate bank account that you have to set up. This bank account is held by Wells Fargo, so it's FDIC insured. You don't have to be concerned about what's happening to your money, and you get free transfers between your Capital account and your personal checking or savings account, wherever you want the money to flow. So if I buy something for $1.50, it's gonna move 50 cents into my Capital savings account for later. And so I think this is really cool because you don't notice 50 cents. You don't notice 25 cents. You know, and these incremental savings will really add up over time. It's the same reason why I'm like, why are my friends always offering to get rid of change? Like, sure, give it to me. Like, I'll take your free money. This thing is so stupid. It adds up over time, and these little amounts can really make a big difference. All right, so other popular rules that they have to offer are the Spinless Rule, the Guilty Pleasure Rule, Set and Forget, Apple Health, Freelancer, and 52-week rule. So let me just blast through these really quick so that you understand how cool these are and why I'm so excited about this. The Spinless Rule allows you to set a budget for yourself, and when you come in under the budget, it moves the difference into your savings Capital account. It's incentivizing you to come in under budget so that you can actually meet your savings goals, which is like a win-win-win if you ask me. So then there's also the Guilty Pleasure Rule. Anytime you spend on something that you just couldn't resist, it will move over a set amount anytime you have a guilty pleasure spending habit. So I think that this is also sort of like a, you know, like positive reinforcement. What's the actual rule? This is like you do something bad, so you have to like save. So you have a consequence, but it's a really good and helpful consequence for the future. The set and forget rule, this is something that you say, okay, every 3 days I want to move $10 into my savings account. You set the date, you set the time, you set the amount, and that money will move over every single time without you thinking about it and without you having to go in and actually do it yourself. And the 52-week rule is really neat. This is one that my friend Mary Kat uses, and this is why she told us about this. So every week of the year, you save an additional $1. So for the first week of your savings, you save $1, the second week $2, the third week $3, and so on and so forth. So the max amount you'll ever put up in a week is $52 in a year. So through this method, if you save that additional $1 every single week, you're gonna end up saving somewhere around $1,300 in a year. That's pretty huge when you're just moving over, you know, like one additional $1. Again, these incremental differences that you don't really notice make a huge difference in the long run. So something that sort of differs between Capital and Level that I mentioned earlier is that Capital actually has control over your funds where Level does not. Level is just telling you it's reading your accounts rather than actually having control over the money. Capital allows you to set up your bank account, and that's used as your funding account. So what it's doing is moving money from your actual bank account over into your Capital account to save it. So it takes it out of your reach and out of your traditional checking account so that it's taking the money away from you so you won't be tempted to use it. At any time, you can transfer the money from your Capital account back into your bank account for free. So if that's something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, that's why I'm throwing out that the Wells Fargo Capital account is FDIC insured, so your funds will be safe. So Capital, again, it takes the thought out of having to save and it takes the legwork out of it. Like it's doing all of the saving for you based on the rules that you've set. And again, you can always get access to that money. It's always yours. You always have control over it. You just move it back over. So Capital is really cool. Again, if you were to get one app today and saving is your focus, I think that that's the one that you should get. Okay, so now that we've talked about budgeting, spending, and saving, what about those purchases that you make all the time that you need to track? So for tracking purposes, again, you could use any one of these apps, but something that I've really enjoyed and that I've mentioned previously in that other, like, what are the apps on my iPhone? Truebill happened to be on there, and this is the app that I like to use for tracking spending, specifically for subscriptions and recurring charges, because it makes sure that those recurring charges are actually staying at the same level, and it notifies you if you have changes. For instance, Truebill is super helpful because just a couple of days ago, I got an alert that said, hey, you've been charged your Time Warner cable bill and it's actually $20 higher than you traditionally pay. And I was like, wait a second, what? Well, if I didn't have this app or any sort of app that allowed me to check my expenses, or if I'm somebody that just sets my credit card bill on auto pay, I would have never noticed this change and I would have continually paid that extra $20. Instead, I got a notification from Truebill that said, hey, we noticed this difference in charge. So I immediately picked up the phone, called them, and adjusted my plan and got the rates figured out so that I'm not overspending for something I don't need to be overspending on. It also allows you to keep track of your subscriptions. Maybe you're somebody that went in and you wanted to get that free 30-day HBO subscription, and then you realize that you didn't really want to pay for that. It notifies you when that subscription charge pops through, so you can be like, wait, I didn't realize I was paying $7.50 for this. I need to go in and deactivate this so that I'm not paying this extra charge for a service I'm not using. Drupal is another app that does require you to link your credit card information so that it can track these charges. It also has a really great line graph in the app that shows you, okay, at this point last month you had spent this number of dollars, and at this point this month you've spent this number of dollars. I think it's just a really good way for you to get an overall picture of what you're spending on your credit card and keep tabs on those recurring charges. There are just these little things that you don't think about that these apps think ahead and do for you. So hopefully you found these 4 app suggestions very helpful, and maybe they can help you in your savings goals coming up. If you like this style of video, then please like it to let me know, and I'll continue to make more. And please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.